Hey fellow designers, it's Karen of Made by Karen M. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make these 3D petals. If you'd like to learn, stay tuned, but before you do, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this video, and change your notifications from personalized to all. In order to make these 3D pieces, you're going to want to have the following materials. First, you'll want some fabric scraps from your dress. Here I have some glitter mesh and some spandex. I also have this B7000 glue. This is a great alternative to E6000. As you can see, the top has a needle point in it, which keeps the tip from clogging, and it has a very thin precision tip, which helps the glue go on neatly and smoothly, and it is a lot less messy than E6000. I also have this 22 gauge wire that I got from Michaels. This is going to be used to make the petals flexible and malleable. And then I also have this rhinestone trim that I got from Amazon. I'm using silver, but they have all different colors, so you can get whatever matches best with your project. So you're gonna measure out a piece of wire based on however big you need your petals to be. I'm doing 11 inches. And of course, if you want smaller petals, you're gonna do smaller wire. If you want really big petals, you're gonna do bigger pieces. And I actually already have a bunch of these done just because I knew I would need a lot for this project. Of course, when you're just starting, you probably just wanna make a couple to make sure that they look how you want them to look. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my wire and kind of fold it in half. And of course, this part is also gonna depend on the shape that you want your stuff to be in. So I'm folding mine in half, making a little point at the end. And then at the end, I'm twisting the two end pieces around each other. And then I'm flattening them out, flattening the petal out, and just picking up the stem like that. The next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my glitter mesh, I'm gonna take my petal, and I'm gonna take my glue. I'm gonna hold the petal like this, and I'm just going to squeeze this B7000 glue onto the edge of the wire all the way around so that I can glue it to my fabric. And this glue is really not messy at all. I'm trying to look at the petal and the screen at the same time, so that's why it's kind of messy for me. But I love this precision tip. It's a lot easier to use than E6000 or having to get a syringe. This is literally perfect. So I'm just putting glue on the edge. And then once I have that done, I'm gonna just take my petal and flatten it like that. And then I'm gonna take just a piece of whatever you have laying around and press it down to kind of flatten it, just so that glue gets on there really good. I don't particularly like using my fingers because I don't want a whole bunch of glue all over my fingers, but whatever little piece of cardboard or plastic you happen to have, or even if you want to use the end of your scissors, which I also don't recommend because you don't want to get a whole bunch of glue on your scissors either. You're just going to press it down like so and make sure it's flat and secure. And then just let it dry for a few minutes. Okay, so it's probably been about 5 minutes. It's fairly dry. If you can let it sit for even longer than that, then that's better. But what I'm gonna do now is simply just cut it out around the edge of the wire. I don't wanna cut too close to the wire because I don't wanna cut through the glue and risk it detaching from the wire. So here is our petal so far. What I'm gonna do now is bend that stem the other way so that it sits like this. And I'm gonna lay my spandex down. I'm gonna apply some more glue. And of course, this varies project by project. I've had projects where I'm doing just one layer of fabric and then the wire is just exposed in the back, which is fine because it's gonna get sewn down either way. But because this glitter mesh is so see-through, I just decided to add the spandex backing to it. So sometimes I don't take this second step. It's really up to you. Okay, so then I'm gonna just press that down. And again, press it down with whatever you have available. Just enough to make sure that that wire is flat and you're catching all the glue. And then I'm gonna leave this to dry for a few more minutes as well. Now that this is dry, we're gonna cut it out and apply our rhinestone trim. So I just cut it out and then I kind of clean it up once I get it off the original big piece of fabric. Okay, so there we have it. Now my glue did smudge a little bit on the spandex. That's something that you do have to be conscious of depending on what type of fabric you're using. But hopefully that'll kind of be covered up by my rhinestone trim. So we'll see. Okay, so I have the petal at the edge of the table. You can do this wherever is, you know, most convenient for you. Sometimes I do it in my lap. Sometimes I just hold it in my hand. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to squeeze a generous amount of glue all around the outside edge of the petal. And again, depending on what fabric you have, you do kind of have to be careful because it can smudge and leave dark spots. So I just do about like half of that side, and then I start laying the rhinestone trim down on top of it. If you need tweezers to assist you with this, that's a good idea as well. I don't press too hard. I just kind of lay it. More glue. Close to the edge as possible, also covering up that wire. And if you don't have a rounded petal, if you have like a pointy petal, you can cut the trim at the top and then restart your trim so that it makes like a point instead of rounded. Because the thicker it is, the harder it is to make a pointy tip. I'm probably putting a little bit too much glue, but you guys get the idea. Once you get more practice, you can make them neater. This is what I'm working with at the moment. Snip. Jeez. Y'all, it's hard to do this with the phone right in front of my face. Okay. Okay, and since this is at the bottom, I'm not really worried about it because it's going to be covered up by the layering of the other petals anyways. But this is how I did this petal. I'm just going to leave it here to dry. And here are some of the other ones that I've completed for this project. I made about 15, no, actually I think 30. I think I made 20 or 30 wire frames. So I'm just working on completing all of these, and now I'm gonna be adding them to the dress. Okay, so here's the dress. My client's gonna fill it out a lot better. My mannequin's pretty skinny. And I'm starting to place these on. I do kind of like the pointy end better instead of the rounded end. So I think I'm just gonna like hide the wire and kind of place them like this. But this is how it's coming along so far. And here is the finished product. I'm gonna show you guys one more example. So this one I did previously, and I was actually using E6000 glue in a syringe. I sped it up because I was just complaining about how much I hated and how I couldn't wait to find an alternative. If you paid attention to the beginning of this video, you know I definitely recommend B7000 glue. Now I'm cutting the petals out, and this is satin, so I did try to tilt them so that they would lay on the satin in a direction that it would not fray. So be conscious of that if you're using a material that frays. I got this rhinestone trim from Amazon. I'll put the link to my storefront in the description box. I'm dabbing some E6000 glue around half of the petal. I find it easier to just do half at a time. So I stick that down, and then I dab more glue around the other half of the petal. And then once you get down to the edge, you just find a good spot to cut it in and snip it. I try to press it as far toward the edge as possible. The less of the edge of the fabric you see, the better. So that's how these petals turned out, and as you can see, I also did a few in just the beaded lace material without the solid fabric. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next video.